Yeah, okay. So thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to the product community by product people. As you all already know, we have a very special guest with us today who'll be talking about a very up and coming topic that's pretty much the buzzword for quite some time and more so recently. Let's just start with getting our audience on configured on Slido. If you have a mobile phone handy, feel free to scan the QR code. In case you don't, log on to slido.com, use the code given below, and you'll be able to ask any questions from our guest towards the end. And you can also participate in the poll that's coming forward. Yes. So the topic of today's uh, conversation is AI first transformation strategy and road mapping. We've all been thinking about how to apply AI into pretty much our day to day and our organization and how to take the most benefit out of it. So Stefan is going to be our expert guide towards it. So before we jump into that, a little bit about myself. So my name is Zara. I'm based out of Pakistan. I have around 5 to 6 years of experience across product management, engineering management, and software engineering. Um, dabbled across a bunch of industries, whether it's autonomous vehicles or it's AI powered CX or fintech or e-commerce. So really looking forward to what Stefan has to say on this. Before we go into there, for anyone who's curious about what Product People does, so we have two main streams of contribution. We provide interim product management, product ops, transformation acceleration services by our in-house product experts. And we also love to give back to our product community through our events and our talks and any way that we can help uplift the community with us. So before going into the talk, we'd love to get a bit of a sense of the audience that we'll be addressing. So anyone who's just joining us, please use the QR code to log into Slido or slido.com and use the code to get access to our polls. We want to know how familiar you are with the concept of agentic AI. Are you a newbie? Have you heard about it? Have you dabbled into it? Do you have um, the the insect in you that wants to experiment with it, or are you someone who's already building onto things? So we'll wait a couple of minutes for our audience um, to give us some feedback here. Yeah, so while we're at it, I think Stephen, let's just have a little bit of an introduction from you, just an informal one while we're waiting to get a bit of more insights into our audience today.
Of course, Sarah, thank you. Um, First a question. Will you share the results of this poll so we can use it to drive the discussion?
Yeah, I think we're just kind of waiting for some results to accumulate. So in the meantime, we just wanted our audience to have a little bit of an idea about our host today.
Understand, thanks. Then let me spend some time on the introduction. So, name is Stephan Schnitzler. I'm based in Düsseldorf, Germany. I'm an IT product person. I've been around in the enterprise and in the IT world, starting as a developer, working as a project manager, as a business consultant, discussing requirements, driving change as a project manager. Then combining all that with some sales experience into product management, and have been holding several positions as head of product or product management director. And yes, recently I've worked in the area of AI. So since a couple of years, I held several positions like driving AI transformation through a portfolio of products, like a head of product for an AI-driven process automation company. Yes, and today I want to share some experience that I collected throughout the journey and the framework that I created. And that's basically me.
Yeah, so Stefan, I think you're going to be very interested in the kind of audience that we have today. So we have around 36%, 35, 36% people who are new to AI, whereas we have a good percentage of people who are already running pilots. And around the same percentage, around 25% people are either actively scaling AI or have a full AI first mindset. So I think um, without further ado, I would hand the stage to Stephen. Stephen, let's hear it from you. Let's jump right into it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I'd be very interested in learning about the 14% with the fully AI first mindset, what that means and how their journey looks like. And of course, about the others, what their questions and what their plans are. Let me jump into the discussion or into the presentation now, and then we can hopefully reserve some time during the Q&A to have some, bidirectional discussions on that. So I already found a couple of words on myself, and I don't want to spend more time speaking about myself. What I want to do today is that I want to share how I've navigated that transformation journey, how we made a strategy and a direction out of that chaos, and share some practical insights, some questions and some tools and an overview that helps me to structure the discussion. We're looking at North Stars, but we're also looking at quick wins and at the framework I presented. So let me use I'm an approach-driven person, so let me use the golden circle to pitch this. So why am I doing this? I think AI has come to stay. For me, I comprehend this as a calling, and I want to share the thoughts on how to drive the necessary transformation, because we all need to embark on that journey. And I hope this can lead to a good discussion. How? I will follow the SCORE framework. So start with the situation, add a complication, look at the opportunity, identify results, and provide some examples. As a first example, I used GenSpark to create this presentation. And I think you can already see that this is based on a Tailwind style sheet framework. So everything you see here is a Tailwind, based on Tailwind. What will I share? I have some lessons learned from consultancy jobs and job interviews, and I started using a framework to drive these discussions. I want to share it with you. Of course, this is a huge topic, so I can only scratch the surface based on my own experience with my own focus, and I can only hope that it's also relevant to you. But okay, let's jump right into it. So what do we see today? If you look at that market trends, then I think that the time for the AI transformation is now. I see that many companies are rapidly implementing AI solutions, but it's still happening in isolated pockets, and it's not necessarily everywhere with strategic coherence. So I see sporadic AI adoption. There's no game plan, but a plan is needed to go beyond just tooling and cost savings and that are driven by process improvements. So the next level is waiting. I think we need to go beyond improving the bottom line, so cost savings, into value generation, so improving the top line through AI products in order to enable revenue growth. The idea is that we need for this journey and to bring this to the next level, we need a clear roadmap that aligns with AI initiatives and business objectives alike. Now, this is a presentation for product managers. So as a product manager, I think you are uniquely positioned to drive this journey, to execute on it, and to bridge the gaps between tech and what can be done in your organization and where the value lies. Okay, so that's the situation. Let's look at the complication. There are challenges coming from multiple dimensions. So I think there are strategic challenges where you need to identify the alignment between AI initiative and business goals. You need to decide on so you have challenges prioritizing your use cases across the organization. The question is, where do we put our dollars? Other questions are, can we expose our IP? Do we need to protect it? Do we need to drive a multi-provider strategy to avoid a vendor deadlock? Can we play with vendors, or do we need to upskill internally? So those are the big strategic questions that we need to tackle. The organizational questions, so that's usually coming from the cross-departmental change. Today, everybody has an opinion on AI solutions and a position. And either people like it, embrace it, or there's resistance to change and AI adoption in general. That can be based on fears or experience, or just resistance to general change. Anyhow, whatever the reason is, it needs to be addressed. And then there can be technical challenges. So deep integrations are key to enable the value, to get the value out of whatever IT solutions, but they increase complexity. Key is to have an integration, or key is to find a way to integrate with legacy systems, legacy procedures, legacy workflows, and also later, keep an eye on the cost. There are ethical challenges. There's the EU AI Act that has come to stay, but today this tiger does not yet have teeth, but it's something we need to cater for. Yes, and assure regulatory compliance. So for now, I think the insight here is that we have so many dimensions with challenges that we need a holistic approach to address the multiple dimensions of that. And of course, there's a gap between the fear of missing out and the real business value, and that requires navigation. I've seen transformation initiatives failing. I've seen AI projects failing. On a personal as well as on an organizational level. So this needs some care. Okay, so here's the framework that I prepared to drive these discussions. So the opportunity for me becoming AI first, or AI itself, artificial intelligence, is an opportunity, and it's fun. So AI first, meaning to put AI in the middle of your value generation in terms of product design, in terms of business operations, and even decision-making processes, data-driven decision-making, data-driven decision processes. And it should not, an AI first, per definition, means AI is not an afterthought. It comes right from the beginning. Okay, so discussing the challenges we had before, I'd like to zoom into these dimensions behind the switch to an AI first strategy. As part of a strategy pillar, you need to assess the disruption risk and determine the approach with your CEO. So do you want to be an early bird? Do you want to be a fast follower? Do you want to be a late adopter? That all depends on your risk exposure, how much your business can be disrupted, what your position is, and what your status is, and what your efficiency in general is. You need to determine what you need to aim for. So is it that you're aiming at cost reduction? Is it that you're aiming at revenue growth? And then the roadmap comes later once you've sorted out a couple of these questions. Then when we look behind, so the pillars for me are strategy, processes, and product. These are not entirely clearly cut. Topics might be overlapping, but let's look at the process pillar first. That would be, of course, the pillar that is mainly owned by the chief operating officer. So for processes, there are low-hanging fruits in terms of automation, which means that, for example, document-heavy workflows or support call automation can be a low-hanging fruit. Another low-hanging fruit is, of course, tooling. We've all played with a couple of AI tools already, and this is fun. It creates momentum. It creates AI literacy, although it's not yet a strategic topic. Going beyond cost reductions and looking at revenue generations, we are looking at the product pillar. This is usually a job of the chief product officer, or maybe you as a product manager need to own that. Nevertheless, or in any case, this is a product topic. So here we need innovation, not only in features. Another chatbot that provides user assistance is nice, but we need to segment the offering into traditional and AI-driven topics, and we're going to come to that later. So what we do here needs to have a solid value proposition. Now, these pillars behind strategy, process, and product need to be enabled by a horizontal level. For me, that's compliance. So there are questions like, what data assets can be exposed? How do we need to protect our IP? Most likely, then at some point you will have a hybrid cloud solution will need to be the answer, and topics like that. There's a people pillar. I think this is one of the people layer. I think this is one of the core horizontal enablers. You need to address cultural concerns, right? So there's adoption. A lot of nice AI tools are out there, but they're not used. So be careful that you go in an agile way, that you assure adoption, or that you are able to measure adoption right from the start. And you also need to take care of AI literacy. So you need to plan how to upskill people, how to AI enable people. And then, of course, there needs to be a cultural readiness. There could be cultural concerns that need to be addressed. As a lesson learned, I think you need to frame the conversation. People sometimes are afraid that AI will take the job. And I think you need to reframe the conversation so that not in a way that AI will take the job, but that the risk is that an AI savvy person might take the job. So I think it's not, I think you need to emphasize that not using AI in the long run is asking for switching off the lights on future competitiveness and future readiness. So there's opportunity in that, and employees need to somehow see and be presented an opportunity to upskill and become AI savvy. Then, of course, looking beyond generative AI, data comes into the game. There's data liquidity, so having the right data at the right time in the right place. There's data quality, so having clean, consistent, comprehensive, non-biased, non-poisoned data. And there's a data risk, right? There's a security risk, there's a privacy risk. There's, of course, the compliance factor to be considered. Beyond that, there's a technology layer that needs to be under control. So AI needs to be scalable, but also cost sensitive. At a later point, you will discover that AI comes with a cost that can be pretty high when you apply it at scale. And applying it at scale is, of course, where the value is. And as mentioned before, integrations are key to get the value out of every piece of technology that you implement. So let's look a little bit deeper into the resolution topic. So for the business strategy, you need to build a foundation. The business processes and automation will improve the bottom line, and coming up with products will provide you with new revenue. Looking at the North Star, you require that to provide a strategic direction that you then can drill down against the KPIs that you can measure your initiatives against. So with a strategic direction, you need to measure the long-term value and define what is in scope and out of scope. An example that I've seen when consulting with the media group was that by next year, they wanted to have 5% of their value being generated through AI processes and services. And by 2030, 50% of the full revenue generation from all AI, from all products should be driven through AI-enabled products. So that's quite a target, but that means you can basically assess all the initiatives that you have on your roadmap and measure it against those, and create KPIs that somehow feed into this North Star, and that should allow you to get the funding, define a journey, get the roadmap straight, and have credibility and backhold in your approach. But let's not only follow up on the North Star, right? I think you also need to focus on quick wins, or have a bidirectional approach, following up on quick wins. Quick wins are not where the value is, and I will provide some examples later. But quick wins will help you to keep the momentum and to early show that you can deliver on your promise, and to build credibility. People that have adoption issues or that have concerns about AI will get convinced, or you need to convince them by building credibility. And you don't do that with a proper plan and roadmap that's theoretical. You do that with practical success stories. And that's maybe even just a tool that does not provide a lot of value, but that provides a buy-in. So my suggestion is use the business strategy as a foundation. The AI transformation cannot be done half-arsed. The business processes, you need them to improve cost. The products, you need them to improve the product side, you need to improve revenue. And you should drive simultaneous progress about all these pillars, about all the enablers, and about strategic versus short-term wins. Why is that? I've been there myself. And before in the slide, we were showing that the business strategy would be driven by a CEO. The business processes would be driven by a chief operating officer, and the product topic by a chief product officer. If I now were to work a year on the business strategy and get the picture straight, and will not be able to present any process automation to a chief operating officer, or not have a solid roadmap on how to drive value through AI based on my products, then there will be C-suite executives that I have not delivered to, and they will not like that message. So the idea is to go ahead in parallel with these three dimensions, looking at all the pillars and quick wins and North Stars at the same time. That can be a challenge, but you cannot ignore one of the dimensions, and that should help you also to keep everybody satisfied. And if you reach a deadlock at some point, doing an AI-based investigation can take long. It can be, you can get lost in the details, and having other topics that keep popping up on your priority list will help you prevent getting lost in these details. Okay. I will call out a couple of examples. For me, that's business strategy and the product topic. I have far more thought and content about all these pillars and about all the enablers, but due to the aspect of time, I focus on the business strategy. So, if you want to looking at the business strategy, I think the key is that you need to have your North Star clear, so you can align the goals of your initiatives with the overarching objectives. You need to quantify the value out of it. That's the product management discipline, and I think we all have an understanding of that. But of course, you also need to get the business case straight, so that you can get approvals into the bigger topics that require their budget and that require a C or board level to go ahead. And as this is a cross-departmental change, it cannot be driven out of a product department alone. It can also not be driven out of an operations or a department alone. Even the PMO might not be well suited to drive that change. So a project management office might not be well suited to drive this change. My recommendation, depending on the size of the organization, would be to set up a center of excellence, hire a head of AI, or implement some structure that collects and aggregates the expertise and controls the projects. Also, to go ahead from a product management perspective, to go ahead with a strategic pillar, you need to get your head around these questions to be prepared for a discussion. So questions are, for example, how do you apply hybrid hosting? Which data can you expose? Which do you need to keep internally? Do you need to process privacy relevant data with internally hosted models? What can you host internally? Where do you need sophisticated, expensive external technology versus maybe cheaper internal technology? Those are the questions that you need to answer early in the process. Not implement them, but answer them early in the process to avoid running into dead-end roads. Then, of course, how do you balance investments across all the different opportunities? That's the product manager's core discipline, right? In leveling and balancing investments throughout the roadmap and considering their strategic value. Avoiding a vendor login, of course, having a multi-provider strategy, and where do you need to partner? What's with make, buy, or build by partner decision? Okay. As hint for product managers, I think this is lots of these topics overlap strongly with the product management discipline. Getting the value prop right, getting the investments right, creating a business case, and aligning the roadmap with North Stars, and having answers on the strategic questions. So that's why I think product managers are very well suited, or a product management mindset is the perfect tool to apply to the SaaS transition. So let's talk about processes. There's some quick wins here. So the key is, of course, for me, the key is to automate workflows and to bridge system and data gaps. This should put you in a position to quickly establish a success story. So, what's the focus for a quick win? I think the focus where you have quick wins are high volume, repetitive processes that include routine decisions. Now with modern AI technology and Gen AI models, but with classification models too. Routine decisions can be done by computers at scale, and I think that's the secret we have. But the decision making is only as good as as it can. But the value of the decision making strongly depends on the way you operationalize it. So how do you automate it? That's a strong question. If you have manual workflows, there's only so much you can automate with an AI model. You might need some kind of automation tool, but of course that's something you need to inspect and understand first before you go there. Let's talk about some quick wins to have some tangible recommendations. So when I'm in the interview phase, at some point there's always the question, what would you aim at first? And then I would say, hey, let's look at document-heavy workflows. That's invoice processing. That's maybe contract management. I think looking at the organization you're looking for, there's a quick answer in that. I also suggest a quick win can be to automate tier 1 support center queries. So support cases coming in. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Of course, you lower the quality when you don't put a human, when the first level of support is not driven by a human, but you also increase speed. So when I open a support case and I have a standard case, I prefer a super fast resolution if it's to solve my problem, instead of having the human in the loop that takes more time but can provide a sophisticated solution. But of course, there should always be an escalation path to a level 2 that is then not primarily driven by AI. So you can use AI for data validations. There are great tools out there to automate data-driven processes and going beyond Excel sheets. What I see happening a lot is that people want to contain their IP, so they're setting up an internal retrieval augmented generation-based knowledge base. It's basically a GPT that you use internally that you can ask questions against and they feed documents into it. For me, that's a two-folded story. On one hand, it's nice you're not exposing your IP and you have a quick, you don't need to browse all the documents, you can ask questions into it. On the other hand, these solutions always lag behind, right? ChatGPT from OpenAI will always have more features and always be more modern than this solution, which of course drives shadow AI solutions. Yeah, so it's a quick win, right? And then, of course, there's a lot of fun tooling around there. So the AI development tools like Cursor, enabling vibe coding that puts product management and product managers into a position where they can quickly create a prototype, quick and dirtily create a prototype, or video generation. Me as a product manager, I recall myself dubbing screen recordings for hours. With my accent, and it was not fun. And now I can use HeyGen to automatically create sales demos, so perfect tool. However, this positive AI experience has created momentum, but it also provides an unhealthy focus, and it made people prone to the law of the instrument, right? Everybody has been playing with ChatGPT, and if you used to use ChatGPT, then it's the same as with a hammer, right? If you only have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. If you're only using ChatGPT, then every problem looks like a language problem. So you need to determine if something is really a language problem, or if, for example, classifier models or any other model category could do a better job, more scalable, cheaper, faster job. Another thing is that I'm very often seeing that due to the hype around AI, people are driving towards saying, "Hey, let's use an AI solution to drive that." But if there's a well-defined business, if there's a well-defined problem and there's a clear input and a clear output and something clear happening in between, then this is a business rule. You should apply an automation tool and not use AI to address the problem. So if those are topics that are a little bit by heart for me, right? Because I see AI being applied in the wrong moments. And if you want to show success, you should avoid that. Okay, another example. Let's look at the products pillar. So, of course, you need to measure your return on invest, and you should have some solid KPIs that measure your opportunities, align with the North Star, and allow scoring these. Right? Let's go beyond a little bit the hard ROIs that we have in product management, like time saved from a process automation point of perspective, or productivity boost or cost reduction. And let's also look at soft ROIs when you measure that, because we do have that people, and we have that transformation and change management aspect. So let's look at improved experience. Let's also consider building up AI literacy through tooling, or building up AI savviness and allowing people to learn about it. So what I want to say is your ROI should not only consist of hard factors, but also soft factors that have the people aspect. So, of course, the idea is to move from AI tooling. So for me, a generic AI implementation is, for example, a chatbot. You have a solution, you have a website, or you have a tool, and instead of putting a link to the documentation, you put a chatbot that you can ask a question to. That's nice. That's a quick win. That's a low-hanging fruit. You can quickly provide value, but it's not driving revenue. So I think what you need to do to go to the next level, to go from process to product, and that's the example here, is to identify your sweet spot. And that's standard product management, of course. And once you have identified your sweet spot, the mission is to consider applying AI as a leverage into that sweet spot. So you need domain-specific AI capabilities that are unique. And I'll come to an example in a second. Of course, you need to not forget about the quick wins. So do the chatbot, that's nice. But also think about the product innovations that applies leverage on your sweet spot. And you might want to think in service levels. And of course, disruption, the answer to disruption is that you need to cannibalize yourself. So one idea is that, for example, let me use an example here. There's a company doing manual invoice reviews. So there are experts that look at invoice documents, and then they say, oh, this looks like fraud, this looks like inflated costs. We might want to negotiate this. They have collected so many data points that they now can offer this as an AI service. of course, the service quality is lower, so people see more and they can negotiate directly and pick up the phone and call and ask questions. But the AI model can give a quick assessment and say, and provide a score and saying, hey, this invoice is most likely okay, to a percentage of, I don't know, 98% okay. So no need for further inspection. So that's a lower service level that can be applied at scale. And by that, you cannibalize yourself. You're basically eating from the cake of your core product, but you're feeding a lower service level use case and avoid getting disrupted there. So another example for the domain-specific AI capabilities is a media house where I did some consultation. What they do is they develop serious news, local content. So they have people on the ground, journalists that identify stories, and then they present them in local newspapers with high quality and high standards. But they also have another newspaper that's more on the boulevard side, so that has news that can be easier digested. And based on a large language model, this media group can now take the content from the highly sophisticated newspaper and put it into more boulevard style with an automatic translation as an augmented process where a human does a review but saves the time of typing those articles themselves. And that leads to a new product offering and new content generation for a second product line. So by that, this media group leveraged the core competency of content creation, but uses AI to become more competitive and enable another product. And I think this is how we need to think. We spoke a lot about scoring. You need to identify your KPIs yourself and build a scoring measure out of that yourself. But as a product manager, you might know the RISE scoring framework. I suggest that you expand this a little bit when it comes to AI solutions, because RISE might not be the full answer here. I suggest to add the data or maybe even a feasibility component. So do you have the data? Is the data liquid enough so that you can leverage it into AI solution? Is it ready enough? So one standard that I've seen here is augmenting the RISE framework with a data level. Okay, starting to look at the time a little bit. Let me go ahead into an example. What can be the next steps? I think first you need to identify the gaps across these pillars that I outlined before: strategy, process, product, and around the horizontal enablers, right? Do you have questions open in your compliance topic? Do you have the data under control? What's with the technology? Do you have workflows automated? And how do you deal with the people? Do you have a plan in place for upskilling on different levels in a way that everybody gets access to tools and educated on them, but that maybe team leaders get educated in identifying potential use cases, and that C-level gets on a boot camp to identify how they can get the value out of AI and what they need to invest. So those are the topics where you need to identify the gaps. So you need to get your to-do list clear. Second topic is, of course, to identify, map, prioritize all these topics. That's roadmap, right? Get the roadmap clear. So the topic is that you need to balance. What I said before, your initiatives across all these dimensions. So about pillars, about enablers. That's basically focusing on the time to value. And then number 4 is it's an agile process, right? Don't forget to adapt the process as you go. I've seen nice examples. These are from Gartner. I'm going to provide a reference to this later of some really nice things. I like this radar, which comes over a couple of dimensions. So the product dimension is here, the internal dimension is here, and then it says what is game changing, what is everyday, what is internal, and what is external. And of course, the winning piece is the external product. That's where the new revenue generation comes in. Hey, but if you're in people business, if your product is primarily a service, you might want to optimize your back office first. So that radar allows you to have an educated discussion on that. And of course, to identify your sweet spots, you should have a use case matrix, right? And I suggest to put value over feasibility and maybe effort. So effort and feasibility somehow are interconnected, or in my experience, they're often interconnected. So a two by two matrix could look like this, and then your sweet spot, your low-hanging fruits would be here. Okay, so you might want to focus on a couple of questions. If you have a discussion, for example, in an early phase, you might want to ask about what's the AI North Star? What are the low-hanging fruits and how you measure success? I think these are the first topics you need to get your head around. Okay, let me go towards wrapping this up. First of all, thank you for your attention. I've compiled a list of newsletters that I find it nice if I get information in my inbox, and that's what I like to read during the commute in the morning. I think Gartner has a couple of good resources. I've put a list here, and there are some interesting readings that help me to get the framework straight and to drive discussions in consultancy engagements. I'm happy to navigate this together. So if you want to take next steps, let's continue the conversation. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, but then please refer to this event, because I don't just blindly connect. I'd love to stay in touch and hear more about where you are, and maybe something comes out of that. Then let me close with a quote that was provided by Bill Gates. I think this is not necessarily tied to AI, but I think for me, this is really a quote that I like to reflect on when I see how transformation is being driven, and the objectives that are set to be achieved within the next 12 months. And very often I think, oh my God, this will never fly. But at the same hand, I'm very much looking forward to where we will be in 10 years. I think there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a fun journey ahead of us. So that's what I wanted to use for closing. And then, I'd like to wrap and open it up for questions. Sarah, will you take it from here?
Yeah, thank you, Stephan. This was, and I'm looking at uh, the comments from people as well, and I think everyone was really enjoying this talk. People are also asking in the chat where they can get these slides, because a lot of the content that you shared, we'd love to take like a second look at it. So let us know if there's a possibility to access it later.
Yes, Sarah, I'm happy to send the slides to you, and then I suggest that you take care of the distribution, if that makes sense to you.
I think we can do that. That's so maybe we can look into maybe posting these slides on the same event so that people can access it from there. But I think this was really amazing. Anybody who has any questions for Stephan, anything you'd like him to address, feel free to send us your questions on Slido. Um, so Stephan, one thing that I've been thinking about is I see that an AI transformation, if it has to be on a scale that an organization needs and just not being fixated on low-hanging fruits or just quick wins, it has to be done on a more strategic level. It has to be done from top to bottom. You can't, it's not the kind of change that maybe you can drive from bottom to top, rather it has to come from the above.
I would highly agree to that. So that's why I'm recommending to do this with full power, right? I think many companies have seen that. If I go to LinkedIn Jobs and I search for head of AI transformation, I do find a lot of open positions there. Specifically in the last 6 months, this has turned up. So yes, I think many companies have heard the calling, and they're all setting themselves up. I also feel many companies are still in an exploration phase. That's why I'm describing the journey, right? So let's
Yeah.
not ignore the quick wins, but let's get sure about where the value is and have a plan to approach that. I've also seen the position of CPAI, so Chief, what was it? No, CAIO, sorry, Chief AI Officer. I like that notion a lot, and I think this is exactly how I want to see this topic being dealt.
Yeah, I think that brings us into we're at a very transformative stage right now where I see that we're operating on two extremes. Either people are or organizations are going in too quickly, too strong, or they're just in that place that maybe we don't want to take that plunge anymore. I'm seeing more and more organizations taking an extreme position, maybe fully automating their customer service or content moderation or these kind of functions, and then rolling these features back. How do you figure out what is the right process and what is the right intensity of transformation that you should be making?
The right process, you mean how to focus on what is in scope and what you do first and what you do second and what's out of scope?
Yes, and even within an area, let's say you want to automate customer service or content moderation, with what amount of intensity or what distribution of AI automation versus maybe just basic rule-based automation or maybe even relying on human resources, how do you balance these things out?
Well, you need to see where the organization is, right? If there's still a backlog in digital transformation, there's only so much you can do about in terms of AI-driven process automation, right? If you're not using workflow engines to control your processes, that's a bridge you need to cross before you can leverage AI into process automation. Difficult to answer, needs to be assessed for every organization themselves. I like what I presented before, this opportunity radar, because first of all, it puts let's say use cases, AI use cases, into dimensions, right? Is it back office? Is it front office? Is it product? Is it process? And then you need to see where your core value generation is. If you are a services organization, most likely you get more value out of process in the process area than in the product area, right? So that's something that comes second. So I'm trying to provide some ideas here on how to measure success. I'm trying to create an understanding of that we need to go ahead with quick wins and North Stars in parallel. But how that journey looks like, how the roadmap looks like, that needs to be determined as a case-by-case decision based on the maturity.
Yeah, Stephen, we have a question from our audience. Adriana is thanking you for this lovely talk. And she's saying that with clear front runners here, like software, edtech, healthcare, that are quickly adopting these trends, what are the industries that are lagging behind and could really benefit from adopting the AI transformation trend?
Yeah, very interesting. So I see, of course, we have tools that automate development processes, like I mentioned, vibe coding before, which only goes to a very low quality level, but it gets the job done for people like me that only need prototypes, and that's good enough, right? It does not get the job done if you want something real. Then you still need your software engineers. I see that in marketing, there's a lot of automation happening. So the question was which industries are lagging behind?
Yes.
Um, I think the large industries that have strong processes, for example, like insurance, financial corporations, they have a huge potential, but they're whales. They're difficult to navigate, and so they're definitely lagging behind. So the industries that consist of very large, super large organizations take longer for a turnaround. But once they do, they will of course come with force. I also think that there's a lot going to come in the media area. So I can imagine like interactive video formats, and I think we will see far more good content being created by AI.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of industries that we have, the main problem towards jumping towards an AI transformation might actually be the level of compliance and security and all of these external agencies that are also related, which are set in place for safety and for better compliance, but they're also in some ways a hurdle towards the transformation as well. Yeah. So we have another question. What trends or technologies in AI do you think will become critical to watch out for in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, very good, very interesting. I've played a lot around with the AI-driven development environments, uh, um, and I've seen good success there, like Cursor or like Firebase Studio or like Bold, and it's fun. But the question was, what will come next, right? I've now seen these personal assistants emerging, like Manus or like GenSpark that I used for this
Hmm.
presentation. So you give them a task, they try to understand the task and deliver against it. Results are really sometimes really annoyingly bad, and I think that will change soon. And I think these personal assistants will become kind of a standard for everyone. What another trend is, I think we need to keep an eye open on Microsoft Copilot. It's really not where it should be. It's lagging behind. It's doing steps, but once it's in a position to leverage all the Microsoft Office environments, so tap into the organization's know-how, tap into the processes, tap into the communication, then it's in a super strong position. So let's keep an eye open on Copilot, and let's keep an eye open on personal assistants.
Perfect. I think we're seeing a lot of questions on how to make your data ready for an AI transformation.
Difficult. Long story, right? So this is something for somebody who's more into data management. That's not primarily a product management discipline, right? Product managers are supposed to enable data aggregation and consolidation, but there needs to be somebody else in the lead to assure that the right data is available at the right process. So data management for me is a key discipline. So yeah, how to improve data integrity, how to prevent biased data.
Yeah.
So those are the big questions. Yeah, difficult to answer. I think first you need to understand what you need the data for, and then how to prepare and cleanse it, right? Also, this is not primarily, please, we are also going a little bit beyond the GPTs here, right? So the large language models are pre-trained models, which means that data is maybe leveraged as a side impact to it, but not as a foundation of the training. So I'm not I do not really have a general answer on how to improve data integrity and bias. I think that's a larger topic, and I'm happy to do another session on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And just lastly, Stephan, are there any case studies that you would recommend, particularly in terms of cost benefit analysis on AI? Because I think a lot of people, and I think this opens to like a broader question as well, with respect to how to get buy-ins for bigger AI initiatives. I mean, it's pretty easy to get buy-ins on low-hanging fruits and quick wins. But when you're talking about the bigger bets, what are your recommendations on navigating that with stakeholders?
Good point. Let's take one step back, right? I'm not trying to sell anything. So personally, I like fails. So case studies that led to failure, right? That's where we learn from. I don't want to say, and I don't want to give concrete examples here, but let's look into that topic that has created a lot of business value, but also fails when it comes to support case automation. There was one that topic is very broadly in the news. So there are tools providing support case automation. There are companies that were early movers, and they shared a lot of their case studies. I recall one banking company from the Nordics that at some point said, "We are going to let go of 700 of our support agents because they are replaced by AI tools." So that was, of course, they didn't do that because I was good enough. They did that because they had to save money and provide better figures, and they were able to accept a decrease in service quality. And then recently, 2 months ago, it was in the news that they're rehiring a large fraction of these support agents. So you need to be a little bit careful about the long-term journey behind these AI studies, behind these AI use cases. But my suggestion is, if you want to get started with case studies, then look at the support automation topics that are easy to be googled and found.
Yeah, and I think finally, what are your suggestions on building AI literacy, not just in the general organizations, but particularly with your product management teams? Because product managers are going to be driving a lot of this, and their level of literacy and their level of AI first thinking has to be a lot more evolved than what you would expect in the general organization. So, what are your suggestions with respect to that?
Yeah, great stuff. I love that topic because I've been head of product managing product managers since a long time. I did entirely not focus on, let's say, AI-driven product management in this presentation. We only discussed how to AI-enable a product, right? But everywhere where you're dealing with large sets of data or documents, there's a potential for an AI tool to make your life much easier. So when you're looking at discovery, I recall myself going through long Excel sheets and classifying user feedback into buckets to score it, and it took me long. And now this can be automated through large language models. So my suggestion for product managers is look at the annoying tasks and try to automate them. Dedicate some time to play around and familiarize yourself with the tools that are out there. In the resources I provided, there's a link to a site from Marilee Mika, who is very strong in AI enabling product managers. So long story short, look where the annoying topics are, try to get a solution for them, and by that become an AI-enabled product manager.
Yeah, and just don't shy away from experimentation. I think that's 101 product management. Um, yes, guys. So I think thank you, Stephan, for giving us your time. Just a quick recap for everybody who's interested in what Product People does. We mainly have three use cases for which we're engaged. We provide interim and fractional product management or product leadership. Our engagements cover 3 to 9 months per role. We cover parental coverage, any kind of leaves, any urgency. So we step in as mercenaries wherever you need our support. We also support with program management and product ops, as well as transformation acceleration, whether it's a shift in your organization, a merger, or anything else. Some of our key clients are, as you can see above, we dabble in B2C, B2B. We have a cross-functional team. We've pretty much supported since inception 300 plus clients. We have a team of 42 people. Interestingly, 62% women and 66% women in leadership. So I think we've gone through our questions. Anybody who's interested in applying with us, we have positions open. Feel free to look at it. We also publish newsletters on a weekly basis. And finally, thank you, Stephan, for taking out the time. It was a lovely conversation that we had. I think pretty much everyone, including myself, benefited greatly for it, and we're looking forward to whatever you're planning next. For anyone who's looking out for any of our next talks, next week we'll be talking about offerings over features, expanding the role of product with Marcel, who's the CPO at Eskimi. So thank you everybody for joining, and have a good evening.